The history of the Jewish people emerges like a faint outline through the mists of antiquity. We say this because, even today, we still do not know with certainty where the earliest Jews came from. Although we possess the Hebrew Bible, an invaluable and ancient text, its mixture of history and legend often makes it difficult to separate fact from storytelling. For this reason, when scholars discuss the earliest history of the Jews, they must often rely on broad and cautious descriptions. Yet this does not prevent us from understanding them, because Jewish history becomes truly significant only after the biblical narratives begin. 1. The earliest Semitic tribes. The Jews originated somewhere on the Arabian Peninsula. Together with several neighboring tribes, they were known as Semites. In their earliest days, these Semitic peoples lived entirely as nomads, moving with the availability of water and grasslands. Around 2000 BCE, one small Semitic tribe began migrating northward in search of fertile land to settle. For a long time, they lived in a place called Ur, which archaeologists now identify as being near modern-day Basra in southern Iraq. Later, under the leadership of their patriarch Abraham, they continued northwest along the Euphrates River. This journey is regarded as the first great migration of the Jewish people. To avoid the powerful Assyrian forces of the time, the group did not enter the broad Babylonian plains. Instead, they skirted the edge of the Arabian desert and eventually crossed the Jordan River, arriving in the land of the Canaanites, what would later be known as Palestine. The local Canaanites called these foreigners Habaru, meaning those who crossed over the river. The term later evolved into the word Hebrew, and their language became known as Hebrew. 2. Abraham and the divine promise. Canaan was strategically important. To the south lay Egypt, to the north Syria and Phoenicia, to the west the Mediterranean Sea, and to the east the rich lands of Mesopotamia. It was one of the great crossroads of the ancient world. According to biblical tradition, when Abraham arrived in Canaan, God, Yahweh, appeared to him and made a covenant. All the land you see will be given to you and your descendants forever. Your offspring will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. Walk through the land, for I have given it to you. Thus, Canaan became known in Jewish tradition as the Promised Land, a land flowing with milk and honey. The local Canaanites, however, did not welcome these newcomers, and conflicts frequently broke out. Even so, the Hebrews remained, settling down and developing a semi-nomadic, semi-agricultural lifestyle. 3. The Patriarchal Age, from Abraham to Jacob. According to tradition, Abraham fathered a son, Isaac, in his old age. Isaac's son Jacob would become one of the most important ancestors of the Jewish people. It is said that Jacob once wrestled with a divine being at night and prevailed. Because of this, he was given the name Israel, meaning one who struggles with God. Jacob had 12 sons, who became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. This era is known as the patriarchal period. Eventually, famine struck Canaan, forcing the Israelites to migrate once more. They crossed the Sinai Peninsula and settled in Goshen, along the Nile River in Egypt. For slavery in Egypt and the deliverance by Moses, the Israelites lived peacefully in Egypt for several centuries. But in the 13th century BCE, the pharaoh Ramesses II, eager to build grand temples and palaces, forced the Hebrew population into slave labor. Among the oppressed people arose a leader, Moses. Born on the banks of the Nile, Moses was outraged by the suffering of his people. After long struggle, he persuaded the pharaoh to let the Israelites leave. Led by Moses, the people endured countless hardships, miraculously crossed the Red Sea, and entered the wilderness of Sinai. According to tradition, they wandered there for 40 years. To unite and strengthen the people, Moses established Judaism at Mount Sinai and proclaimed that God had given the 10 Commandments, which were engraved onto stone tablets. These commandments became the earliest religious laws of the Jewish people and later influenced the entire Western legal tradition. Moses also entered into a covenant with Yahweh. The Israelites would worship Yahweh alone. Yahweh would protect them and lead them back to the Promised Land. Although the Israelites eventually returned to Canaan, Moses did not live to see it. He is remembered as the first true leader of the Jewish nation and as a symbol of freedom for many cultures. 5. The era of the judges and the rise of kings after returning to Canaan. The Israelites spent many years reconquering and settling the region. During this time, they were led by figures known as judges, individuals chosen for their military and spiritual authority. Their positions were not hereditary. This age is thus called the period of the judges. Eventually, the tribes transitioned from this system to a monarchy. The first king was Saul, who ascended the throne around 1025 BCE and fought against the Philistines. After Saul's death, David became king. Once a young shepherd, David gained fame for defeating the Philistine giant Goliath with a single stone. A capable warrior and statesman, he united the tribes, expanded the kingdom, and established Jerusalem as his capital. David ruled for 40 years, and by the time of his death in 970 BCE, Israel had grown into a regional power. 6. Solomon and the Golden Age. David's son Solomon ascended the throne and ushered in an era of unprecedented prosperity. Through diplomacy and intermarriage, he forged alliances with surrounding nations. He expanded trade, developed metallurgy, and greatly increased the kingdom's wealth. His most famous achievement was the construction of the magnificent Temple of Jerusalem, known later as the First Temple or Solomon's Temple, which took 15 years to complete. Under Solomon's rule, Israel enjoyed peace, prosperity, and stability, often called the Golden Age of ancient Jewish history. But in Solomon's later years, excessive luxury and heavy taxation weakened the kingdom. After his death in 930 BCE, his son Rehoboam succeeded him, but the nation soon split. The kingdom of Israel in the north, with 10 tribes, and its capital in Samaria, the kingdom of Judah in the south, centered around the tribe of Judah, with its capital in Jerusalem from then on. The once unified Hebrew kingdom began to decline amid internal conflict and external threats.